possible. And so, yeah, okay, now we've got two nodes going.
And they're both rendering right now.
So each node renders a different part of the total picture. Initially, we were thinking that we'd have the nodes render different actual frames, but eventually it came, we decided that from a scheduling standpoint, it was impossible to make that happen in an orderly fashion.
If you look at these two, you can see that which half of the picture each node is rendering. Like that's the bottom half, and that's the top.
So I
half.
can see what each one is rendering, and then I can see what a composite of them over here.
Yeah.
Yes.
So the way it works is the master will determine the geometry and the time stamp of the scene that needs to be rendered. It'll send that over to the nodes, and nodes will say, okay, I'm going to render this now, and then it's going to send the rendered image data in compressed format back to the master. Sam can tell you a little bit about how we compress the data.
It's pretty much impossible for you to send these really huge bitmaps. This is like 720p.
Oh, okay.
So what we do is we compress them to JPEG format before we send them to the network. So
Okay.
it goes from maybe 3 megabytes per image to maybe 15 kilobytes, which is pretty big stage.
All right. So, but now, do you lose anything when you?
There's a little bit of loss
How much
of quality.
loss? How much loss is there?
Well, it's as much loss as the amount of lossiness we program into the JPEG.
So right now it's 75%
Mhm.
quality. Yeah.
Okay, so you lose about 25%.
But I mean, it's still this is still 720p,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's a sacrifice that was needed to be made to get us close to what our speed target was that we planned in our backlog.
So I guess the critical thing is,
The way a bitmap works in graphics or 3D graphics or whatever is you have the height is usually the actual height of your video, and then the width internally is sometimes they call it a span or a gosh, what's the terminology for it? This is something I've recently learned. Anyway, it can be greater than the actual width of the video. So we decided to divide it up into vertical slices, like horizontally oriented. So you've got the top slice, the bottom slice, or if there's 4, there's going to be 4. So it's going to be horizontal heavy on each node. One of these two nodes is rendering the top of this image. The other one is rendering the bottom of the image. If we threw another node on there, we would divide it up. Yeah, we would try it. This machine right here is a little unstable. Probably.
but you can add obviously the third.
You can add them on the fly. And
yeah.
It'll adjust.
You'll see the third node will pop up here hopefully before it
Yeah,
crashes
there you
for a little bit.
What's your limit on number of nodes that you could?
There isn't one.
There
you
you
can
start
yes.
rendering
Yeah.
and now.
There we go.
Infinite number. Now, what caused that split there as we added the third?
Okay,
node?
so we haven't really figured out the most graceful way to do this, but